They say luck is like anything else you take up a mountain. Eventually, it's gonna run out. Sasha didn't believe it until she felt the weight of her husband, Tommy, dragging her toward a 1,000-foot drop into a Norwegian abyss. In that singular, frozen moment of panic, she didn't just lose her partner. She made a choice that would haunt every second of her survival. She watched him vanish into the darkness, victim of her own refusal to call off the climb.
That's just your Aussie ass.
Are you okay?
Sasha wraps her injured hand, then wakes her partner Tommy, urging him to begin the climb before the weather takes a turn. He agrees. Before stepping out, she peeks from the tent, admiring the stunning view of the Troll Wall. Not long after, they suit up and prepare for a tandem ascent. Tommy comments on how cold it feels.
Just your Aussie ass.
And she jokes that it's just because he's Australian. As they start climbing toward the summit, Sasha slips midway up the route. Frustrated, she mutters that it's always the same section.
Same goddamn spot every time.
She steadies herself and tries again while Tommy tells her to take it slow. After several failed attempts to get past the difficult spot, Tommy suggests they stop for the day, pointing out that a storm is approaching. Sasha insists on giving it one more try. As the weather worsens, Tommy firmly tells her they need to head back down and return to camp. Later, with the storm growing stronger, Tommy suggests delaying the climb until the next day. Sasha shrugs it off as nothing more than bad weather and asks what's really bothering him. He admits that she tends to push things too far sometimes. Letting out a sigh, he says he doesn't know how many climbs he has left, but quickly adds that he still loves what they're doing, and her, while asking her to slow down instead of constantly chasing extremes.
He shares an old saying, explaining that luck is like anything you carry up a mountain. It eventually runs out. Sasha challenges him, asking if he truly believes his luck is gone halfway through a climb.
If my lucky compass is saying I should.
Oh my god, just stop with that fucking compass.
When he starts mentioning his compass, she cuts him off in frustration. Tommy apologizes. As the storm intensifies, they finally agree to descend. On the way down, Sasha asks him to promise that once the storm clears, they'll come back, finish the climb, and reach the top. He agrees. Halfway down, rocks begin falling around them. Tommy urgently tells Sasha to move quickly, press herself against the rock face, and keep her head down. She secures herself, but suddenly more debris crashes down. He calls out, asking if she's tied the knot for his rappel. Without thinking, Sasha shouts yes, but when she looks down, she realizes she hasn't. Panic hits instantly. She tells him to wait, but before she can fix it, rocks strike him, throwing him off balance and knocking him unconscious.
Sasha grabs his rope, desperately begging him to wake up, but she can't support his weight for long. Faced with an impossible decision, she finally lets go, watching in horror as he falls to his death. 5 months later, Sasha arrives in Australia, Tommy's home country, hoping to feel closer to him again, while taking on whitewater kayaking through the Grand Isle Narrows. She tries using her GPS, but there's no signal, so she relies on a paper map to find her way to the Wandera National Park Ranger Station. Along the journey, she stops to rest, her thoughts drifting back to Tommy. The following day, she reaches the station. A ranger asks if she plans to go alone and advises against it, warning that people often get lost in the area. He then asks her to sign in so they can track a route. About an hour later, Sasha pulls over at a gas station. Inside, she grabs some snacks while a group of local hunters try to flirt with her, but she ignores them. She notices a man entering the store carrying packs of beef jerky, and the clerk mentions it's selling fast, calling him Ben.
As Sasha asks one of the hunters to move, he suddenly slaps her. He casually offers to show her around, but she brushes him off. The men leave. Sasha pays for her snacks and fuel. Ben apologizes for their behavior, but she tells him she can handle herself and didn't need help. He nods and leaves. Before heading out, Sasha grabs a pack of his beef jerky. Outside, she studies her map, clearly unsure of the route. She looks over at Ben and asks if he can point her toward the Grand Isle Narrows, explaining that her GPS isn't working. Ben nods and asks if she wants the easy route or the hard one. Sasha replies, the best way. He gestures on the map, explaining the standard route, then suggests starting from Blackstone Bay and traveling about 9 kilometers. He mentions that just before a split, there's a great campsite near a river. Sasha listens and nods. Ben asks if she can handle it, and she confidently says she can. He warns her about the dangers of the terrain and water, but Sasha simply smiles, rolls up her window, and drives away.
As night settles in, Sasha pulls off the road and parks her van. While transferring her gear into a bag, the two hunters from the gas station return, this time with several others. They try to engage her, even offering her a beer, but Sasha ignores them and retreats into the van. Hours go by as the men drink, joke, and dance nearby, while she eventually drifts off to sleep. The next morning, Sasha heads out in her canoe, navigating the powerful currents with control and precision. After some time, she pauses briefly to catch her breath before continuing toward Blackstone Bay. Once she arrives, she sets up camp and hangs her bag high in a tree to protect it from animals. She pulls out some of Ben's beef jerky, takes a bite, and is surprised by how much she enjoys it. The following morning, Sasha wakes up and steps outside, only to realize her bag is missing. Frustrated, she exhales and turns back toward the tent, but freezes when she spots a snake inside, hissing at her.
She slowly backs away and returns to the river. After paddling a short distance, she notices a blue canoe nearby. Curious, she decides to follow it, moving deeper into the dense forest. There, she comes face to face with Ben, who greets her with a broad smile, saying she made it. He reminds her of who he is, and she acknowledges him. He asks if she's enjoying the area, and she nods before explaining that something got into her gear overnight and took everything, including her food and phone. Ben laughs lightly, suggesting it was probably wombats, joking that they must be texting each other with their tiny paws. Then, more seriously, he apologizes and reassures her not to worry, saying he always carries extra supplies and is happy to share. Sasha thanks him. He invites her to sit while he prepares breakfast. When she asks about the jerky, he explains that he makes it himself, cutting the meat, drying it, and hanging it away from flies for weeks.
So you make beef jerky.
I'll make that myself. Cut it, dry it, hang it away from the flies for a few weeks. Good protein.
When he asks if she tried Geno's, she confirms.
You tried Geno's?
Mm-hmm.
Curious, she asks about the name, and he says it was his mother's. She jokes that she must be honored, though his expression briefly shifts before he brushes it off and offers her water, explaining he collects it from the trees.
She asks if he spends a lot of time out there, and he says he practically lives in the wilderness, adding that if he doesn't get out on the river regularly, he feels restless, almost physically uncomfortable. She asks where he's from, assuming Australia, but he corrects her, saying he's actually British and moved there as a child with his mother. He then asks how long she's been kayaking. She shrugs, saying she does a bit of everything. He notes that she seems more like a climber and implies he already knows about her, that she's drawn to danger because it makes her feel alive.
Just a while. I do a little bit of everything.
Aye, but mostly mountains, right? So I already know about you. Yeah, you know, the danger makes you feel alive.
He hands her a plate of food, and she accepts, saying she's done with mountains. Ben assumes it's because of a breakup, suggesting her boyfriend kept the mountains while she chose the rivers. Sasha stays silent. Sensing the tension, he apologizes for pushing, and she tells him it's fine. She brings up the hunters from the gas station, mentioning they showed up at her campsite and that she thinks they were bothering her. Ben agrees, saying she handled it well.
Confused, she asks how he knows. He admits he was there, watching, thinking she might need help, but clearly she didn't.
No, I was there. I thought maybe you could use a hand. A woman alone and all. Not the case, though, clearly.
He adds that he knew she was special the moment they met, just like his mother. Uncomfortable, Sasha says she should leave, but Ben stops her. That's when she notices something unsettling, a bracelet that belonged to Tommy. Ben casually says he liked it and asks if she wants it back. He tells her to wait, then tosses her bag out from his shelter. Moments later, he steps forward holding a crossbow and a speaker. He starts playing a song and calmly explains that he's restocked her supplies, except for her phone. Then he tells her she has until the song ends to get as far away as she can. Snapping out of the shock, Sasha grabs her bag and runs. She reaches her canoe and pushes off into the river. Moments later, the music stops. She paddles desperately, letting the current carry her forward. Suddenly, she crashes into a rock and hits her head.
She breaks the surface just in time to watch her canoe drifting away. Holding tightly onto her bag, she drags herself onto the rocky shore. After taking a moment to breathe, she forces herself to keep moving. Suddenly, she hears voices nearby, someone admiring something. Hoping for help, she calls out and climbs toward the sound, only to realize it's a recording. Out of nowhere, a crossbow bolt slices past her, barely missing. She takes off running with Ben close behind. Another shot strikes her leg, but she pushes forward despite the pain. He fires again, hitting her bag and throwing her off balance. She stumbles, slides down the slope, and falls back into the river, where the current pulls her into a narrow gorge. Later, bruised and drained, Sasha checks the injury on her leg. She looks at her phone. It's broken. She changes into a fresh shirt, eats some chocolate, and drinks water. Spotting her pepper spray, she keeps it within reach. Moments later, she starts running again, determined to create as much distance as possible.
She glances up at the jagged rocks above and begins climbing. Once she reaches the top, she finally exhales in relief. Pulling binoculars from her bag, she scans the area and spots Ben's canoe in the distance. She looks around carefully, then suddenly notices him. Instinctively, she ducks out of sight. When she looks again, he's staring straight at her, smiling. Quickly, Sasha climbs back down and hides, waiting through several tense minutes. When everything seems quiet, she cautiously heads back up. In the distance, she sees Ben again, not far from his canoe. Realizing this could be her only chance to escape, she decides she has to reach it. Moving as silently as possible, she sneaks toward the canoe and tries to untie it, but the rope is tightly secured. As she struggles, her foot suddenly snaps into a concealed bear trap. Her scream echoes through the forest.
Hearing it, Ben rushes toward her, laughing wildly. He grabs the chain and drags her closer. Thinking quickly, Sasha pulls out her pepper spray and sprays him directly in the face. He cries out in pain, stumbling back. She tries to grab his crossbow, but he pulls her away before she can reach it. She raises the spray again, but he orders her to throw it to him. Ben then releases her from the trap. Shaken and furious, Sasha asks if he thinks this is some kind of game. Ben calmly replies that it isn't. It's a ritual. Later, he offers her some fruit. Disgusted, she tells him there's something seriously wrong with him. Ben defends himself, reminding her that he gave her a choice earlier, the easy way or the hard way, and asks which one she picked. That night, as rain pours down, Ben casually talks about how rituals give people purpose and remind them who they are. He mentions how some tribes sharpen their teeth, explaining that enduring pain is part of growing up, a rite of passage.
The next morning, Sasha demands to know where he's taking her. He says he'll explain later, then reveals he got her name from the ranger log and looked her up. He brings up the troll wall, suggesting she doesn't want to talk about it. She insists it was an accident, but Ben counters, saying Tommy was highly experienced and had completed dangerous climbs. Sasha simply says that sometimes things just happen. As he continues talking, Sasha notices a metal hook nearby, something she could use. Ben casually asks whether Tommy's funeral was hot or cold. She replies that he was cremated. He then asks if she came there to scatter his ashes. In that moment, as she prepares to act, Ben suddenly shoves her into the river. Later, he pulls out a harness and hands it to her. Confused, she asks why. He tells her they'll need it to climb down. Sasha follows him deeper inside. Soon, a terrible smell fills the air. Then she sees it. Bodies hanging above, lifeless and decaying.
Ben calmly explains that some tribes believe consuming their prey allows them to take in their spirit.
There are native tribes that say to capture the spirit of your prey, you have to consume its liver. The trick is finding a spirit worth capturing, I suppose. You remember the Carters from the video? They didn't put up much of a fight. Not like you.
Horrified, Sasha realizes the truth. The jerky he makes comes from people. Panic sets in, but Ben calmly reassures her that everything is fine. She tries to reach him emotionally, saying she senses he's been through something terrible and quietly apologizes for whatever happened to him. He pauses for a moment, then reveals his sharpened teeth before suddenly running off. Shaken, Sasha looks around and notices a photograph nearby. But before she can react, Ben reappears, grabs her, and hoists her up, binding her in place.
He opens a container and casually explains it's his own salt brine, the perfect way to tenderize meat for his jerky. Sasha asks if the woman in the photo is his mother, noting how much he resembles her. Ben nods and softly says she used to tell him, "Jeno loves Benno." In a distant, almost gentle tone, he explains that his mother was special because she was the first, adding that she's always with him now.
He then hugs Sasha, saying he'll keep her with him as well. Sasha suddenly bites his ear, making him scream in pain. He stumbles back. As he tries to pull her with the rope, she resists and manages to leap into the river, with Ben chasing after her. The current grows stronger, dragging him toward a waterfall. Ben is knocked unconscious when his rope catches on a branch. Sasha struggles to free herself, but can't. Realizing she has no other option, she dives back in and loosens his rope. She tries to break free from her restraints, but Ben regains consciousness. She attempts to fight him, but he quickly overpowers her and begins choking her until her vision starts to fade.
At the last second, he releases his grip. Sasha immediately grabs a rock and smashes his leg, breaking it. In response, he strikes her, breaking her nose. He screams in agony, clutching his leg, while she groans, holding her bleeding face. Ben tears away the fabric around his injury, crying out as he understands how badly it's damaged. As night falls, they sit in tense silence. Sasha speaks, questioning him about the people who come there on vacation and mocking his twisted behavior.
People come here on vacation. You must have one hell of a dentist. Where did you eat him to? You ever get depressed in the dark? Feel like you misjudge things? Feel guilty?
She asks if he ever feels guilt or darkness inside. Then she opens up about Tommy, admitting that when he fell, he was pulling them both down and she had to let him go. She confesses she'll never know if he might have survived. She reflects that she loved the mountains because of him, but he didn't want that life anymore, and she kept pushing anyway. The next morning, Sasha asks what lies beyond the area. Ben says it's about a 12-day journey on foot. She tells him he won't survive that long with his injury. He snaps back, asking whose fault that is.
She then tells him they need to climb out that very day, and if he refuses, she'll simply wait for him to die from infection. Ben laughs it off, saying she won't make the climb without him. Sasha calmly agrees, explaining it's a tandem ascent. She tells him she can guide him, show him how to tie a knot to support his good leg, set up a booster, and create a makeshift harness. It's the only way either of them will reach the top. After a moment of consideration, Ben agrees. He says that once they make it out, he'll let her go, but warns her that if she tries anything, he'll pull her off the wall. He also orders her not to touch his harness. Sasha begins climbing carefully. After gaining some height, she signals for him to follow. As she moves upward, she tries to interfere with his harness, but Ben notices and yanks her down, warning her again.
You idiot!
I told you not to touch the harness.
Just resetting it.
She steadies herself and continues climbing, with him right behind her. He calls out, asking if it looked like Tommy was flying when he fell, but she doesn't respond. She keeps climbing until she reaches a ledge just out of his sight. There, she quietly ties his rope to a nearby branch. She then starts loosening his harness. He reacts immediately, trying to pull her down, but this time only the harness gives way. In a split second, Sasha unties the rope. Ben falls, plunging to his death. With what little strength she has left, Sasha continues the climb alone, pushing herself up the dangerous wall. As night falls, she stops briefly to drink water, then keeps moving forward. Eventually, a passing camper finds her and offers her a ride back to her van. The following morning, Sasha returns to the ranger station and tells them she knows where the bodies are.
I know where they are. All of them.
Authorities have confirmed that at least 20 bodies have been recovered from a cave deep in Wandara National Park. The discovery was made after a woman escaped the forest and alerted rangers. Authorities are still working to identify all the victims. The families of those missing may finally find some closure. A mysterious string of disappearances in the area that were blamed on the rugged landscape and local wildlife is now believed to have been the responsibility of a single man.
Sometime later, standing by the ocean, Sasha takes Tommy's compass and throws it into the water. That's the end. Apex isn't just a survival thriller. It's a psychological game of control, fear, and manipulation. In the wilderness, intelligence becomes the deadliest weapon. Every hunter thinks they control the game until the prey stops following the rules. On the Flick verdict scale, this is a must-watch. Tense, cold, and smarter than it first appears. Bottom line, this isn't about survival. It's about who truly controls the hunt. Comment below, was Sasha surviving or evolving? If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more films where intelligence is dangerous and nothing is ever what it seems.